Hi, my name is Harold and welcome to the Sanctum. Hello, my friends. This video will be an introduction to 7 different types of yoga. Now, oftentimes when we hear the word yoga in the West, we think of stretching exercises and getting your body in shape, a form of physical fitness. However, traditionally speaking in India, the word yoga is not necessarily a physical fitness exercise. The word yoga means union and is a path to freedom and self realization. But what people don't realize is there are many different forms of yoga, and not all of the forms of yoga are purely based on stretching exercises, or it's only purely one that focuses mainly on postures and asana, as if you want to call it that asana or postures, which is what we often see in the West when it comes to these modern forms of yoga that's focused on physical fitness. Now, I'm going to be talking about 7 of these different kinds of yogas. The 7 yogas which I'm about to be talking about, you can correspond them with the 7 major chakras in the body: the root or Muladhara, the Swadhisthana, the solar plexus or Manipura, the Anahata or heart center, the throat or Vishuddha, the Agna or third eye, and of course the Sahasrara or what we call the crown center. 7 major chakras in traditional Indian yoga, and 7 types of yoga can be associated with these, starting way at the bottom in the root. And by no means am I saying just because it's associated with the root that it's lower or higher. That's not what I'm saying. It's all of equivalent proportion. It's just, when I mean lower, I mean physically associated with the lower chakra. So the root chakra, the base of the spine, is associated with Hatha yoga. The word Ha and Tha means sun and moon. So it means sun moon yoga. And this is often what we see in the West. Although it is not traditional Hatha yoga, it's a more modernized version of Hatha yoga. But this is where the stretching and the physical activity comes in. But this is to rebalance the sun and the moon channels within the body. We've got 3 main channels in the body, what we call the Sushumna, the central channel along the spine, and 2 other channels called the Ida and the Pingala, related to the sun and the moon. This is similar to yin and yang, or yang and yin, in the Taoist system. And this is associated with the sun and moon, so hence why it's called sun moon yoga, Hatha yoga, because you're trying to rebalance and open out the sun and the moon channels within the body to open up the body and prepare the body for the movement of energy that is the result of the higher yogas. Okay, so the Hatha yoga, although it can be used as a pure path itself for self-realization, every yoga that I'm about to talk about can be used purely on its own as a form of self-realization. But Hatha yoga is often used to open up the body for the higher yogas. So that is what we commonly know as Hatha. So it's often related to uh, to the root, and sometimes traditionally, although we practice many postures, a yogi would only practice and master one posture their entire life in traditional Hatha yoga. And now going to the next chakra, there is what we call tantra. Now, oftentimes in the West, when we hear the word tantra, the mind immediately we immediately think of sex, because that's what the media has portrayed that to be. But it's got very little to do with it. In fact, it's only a very small percentage of Tantra that is associated or uses or explores that dimension. The word tan means to expand, and the word tra means a device. So the word tantra means a device to expand. Just like the word mantra, comes from the word manas, which means the mind, and tra means a device. So a mantra is a device to control the mind. So tantra is a device to expand, right? And it can also be translated as a technology. Tantra is a technology, and it's a form of inner work that allows an individual to speed up their process of development to realize their own divinity. And it's a very difficult path. And sometimes it's a path that involves dwelling into those aspects of life that may push the boundaries of an individual. Hence, why in certain aspects of Tantra, um, other certain dimensions of human experience are explored and used for one's spiritual unfoldment rather than something that should be shunned and stayed away from, such as sex, for example. Hence, why in the West they just saw that and blew that out of proportion, but it's got a very little, only very little to do with it. So that's essentially Tantra. Then we go to the Manipura, and that's related to Karma Yoga. So, Karma Yoga is the practice of following one's path and being aware of the karma and the action that one is creating. Right? Being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your actions, being aware of something before you do it so you can respond rather than react and create more karma than you need to. It's also the act of selfless service and doing things that, letting your ego dissolve and doing all that you are capable of doing for others. Right? And that accelerates your own self realization by letting go of the I, the ego, the prison that keeps us stuck from growing. Then, going up to the heart, we've got Bhakti Yoga. Now, this is a very common form of yoga that people are practicing without realizing it. And the word Bhakti simply means devotion. Right? It's the devotional yoga. And this is where someone may bow down in worship to a specific deity. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a Hindu deity. It could be any deity, or a concept of deity, or it could be even the deity within. But it's working with this idea of letting go of the self in and falling completely in love with this concept of a deity. That's why it's called bhakti, devotion. You're completely uniting with it, and you're falling in love with it, and it opens up the heart, and that leads to you uniting with it. So that's why it's called bhakti, the way of the heart. Then we go up to the throat. You've got Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga is associated with the intellect, and not necessarily intellect. It's intelligence and knowledge. It is the path of wisdom, of gaining knowledge and using intelligence for self-realization through that path of knowledge. So oftentimes the Jnana Yogi will do a lot of studying, will do a lot of contemplation, a lot of meditation on abstract concepts, will tap into higher forms of knowledge, will write books, will create music, all of those channeling knowledge and expressing it through the being, but also using that knowledge for one's own self-realization. Even teachers are jnana yogis in many, in some sense. Then we go up to the third eye and we go up to Kriya Yoga. So the word Kriya means action with awareness, and it's the opposite to the word karma, which means action. So Kriya Yoga is a very powerful process of tapping into the internal energies of the body, the very fundamental life energies that control yourself and all of existence, and learning to harness them within the body, and undergo an internal alchemical process of transformation. So, Yoga is also a form of yoga like Tantra that accelerates the process of evolution and is often not just practiced by itself, it's also usually practiced with aspects of Hatha Yoga to open up the body, to allow the energy work to take place in a safer and um, uh, more lubricated manner. And then we go up to Raja Yoga. So Raja Yoga is where the word Raja means king. So it's often known as the king of yogas. And this is the yoga of concentration, of meditation, and mastery over the mind. So Raja Yoga is often called the king of yogas, is realization that everything comes down to concentration. Everything. Right? If you want to take control of energies in the body, you need to be able to concentrate. If you want to completely focus your energy on something, you need to be able to concentrate. If you want to create a piece of music, you got to know how to concentrate. And it's the ability to focus your attention through meditation to such a deep level that there's a dissolution of the ego, and the separateness, the separation between you and that object of meditation begins to disappear and crumble. um, and and Raja Yoga can bring about very powerful and profound states of awareness in the body, and and it's often called the king of yogas because it's something that if somebody has the willpower to just sit there and do, like staring at a point on the wall, if they can really sit there and stare at that point on the wall completely with total focus, without distraction, even for a second, the realization can happen like that. So, oftentimes, these yogas are practiced together because they fit together really well with each other. And oftentimes, there are also more modern forms of yoga like Kundalini. And I haven't really included this in the seven because traditionally Kundalini was a part of Tantra yoga. And in the modern day, Kundalini was created as a separate branch by putting together four types of yoga, what we call Tantra, Kriya, Jnana, and Hatha together to form Kundalini as we know it in this modern day. But traditional Kundalini from the ancient times was actually a part of Tantra because it's only in Tantra that this particular energy that we call Kundalini, and even in aspects of Kriya, are directly worked with in that manner. So, this is just a quick introduction, and in my Patreon, there'll be more in depth practices and information on each of the yogas in a new series on specifically yoga that's coming up. So if you want to know more about that, please you can find the details on the description box below, and please give this video a like and please subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you soon. Take care.